Well, it's finally happened. A review of the eSeries from inside the shed. Today I'm flying solo to do an eSeries review, so probably won't go off the rails, probably short and sweet and stick straight to the point. First up, I'd like to discuss the expression session that they had before the first race. It was after the qualifying sessions. They had it at Watkins Glen. I thought we were actually going to see a bit of Shane Van Gisbergen drifting around. Instead, we saw Shane Van Gisbergen blocking the pits and no one kind of being able to get out. It was a bit of fun seeing kind of a crash session, but would have been nice to see the guys, maybe actually ripping some burnouts and doing some stuff like that. Did see, I think it was Joe Logano, did a lap in reverse. Things like that were a bit fun to watch. But in general, probably didn't quite hit the mark. Could give them kind of maybe a C+. Could be better next time. We've seen some of the drivers sporting some interesting lockdown haircuts. Most of them have gone down the route of growing, a proper beard. Heimgartner's is getting really good. Scott Pye's doing a pretty good job on his. Shane Van Gisbergen always has interesting hair. This week, though, someone took the cake. It's not bad enough that he's got a dirty mo. Chaz Mostert has dyed his hair blonde, Joe Exotic style. Seeing a lot of memes about it today, which is great. Anybody doing that, it should be made fun of because it looks absolutely ridiculous. We saw a few new paint jobs this week, most notably probably Todd Hazelwood. Got new sponsorship from Brute, military grade, I think it is, or military strength. A nice camo looking car, looks really good, and really good that DJR picked up a new sponsor for this series. A car's going to be in that paint job for the rest of the series. Be interesting to see whether that carries over into real life or whether this is just a deal for the eSeries. We have seen 888 has, I think the name of the company was Omen, something to do with computers or something. It's interesting that, haven't seen kind of much new sponsorship for this, although it probably is a bit hard to go out and get sponsorship. And I think a lot of this eSeries thing is to, get the cars on TV and get the sponsors out there. So, they're probably doing as much as they can to try and keep the current sponsors happy. I would have thought BJR especially would have had a bit more of a rolling kind of thing like they have during the normal season. Seems to be that Percat's kind of settled on that Dunlop car at the moment. Interesting as well, noticing that there's all the Super 2 drivers that have had a crack have all had Dunlop on the bonnets of the cars, which obviously Dunlop, the sponsor of the Super 2 series. Just a little bit interesting that there's obviously a bit of a commercial thing there where the Super 2 drivers coming in have to fit that into their paint job somehow. While we're on paint jobs, the Angelo Mazuris pit box car, that looks great. It's a bit gay, but there's something about kind of pink race cars. They just stand out. Like those Force Indias in the BWT pink and that, it just stands out. It's, I think it might just be because it's such a different colour to see on a race car. It just stands out from the crowd. Joe Logano's car, just that standard kind of Ford Mustang paint job. Not sure whether it was too late in the day to kind of do a proper paint job for him or something. That was a bit disappointing. Marcus Ambrose car, that looks great. It was great to see Marcus Ambrose back in the series as well. I actually sat there thinking, what would have happened, maybe if he had hung around? As he said, how good was his rig as well? Did people see that? His simulator setup, awesome. Apparently, if you saw it have a crash, it really throws people around, and he has to wear seatbelts on it. Apparently, he had a friend go on it one day, and they actually cracked a rib because the crash was that violent in the car. Anyway, I was sat there thinking, because really, he probably did a bit better than Coulthard did in the races over this round. And I was thinking, what if he hadn't pulled the pin on his career with DJR Team Penske, what if he'd actually continued through, and he probably still would be driving because that was 2015. So we're kind of 5 years down the track. I think he would have been Scott McLaughlin's teammate, say, if things had happened differently. Just to think, what that guy could have achieved if he'd hung around in the team that it is now. He could actually be giving Scotty a run for his money. He could still be up the front of the field. That short little bit that we got to see of him in 2015 just really didn't show, the potential that was still there. People kind of, bag him out. But the little that we saw him that year, geez, he did do a good job. And this is coming from someone who was glad to see him go to America because, I think his ego had got a little bit too big towards the end there. And, being more on the Holden side of the ledger of drivers that I followed at that, especially at that time, I was glad to see him go. But you just think that was really a missed opportunity for the series to have, a really big name involved. While I'm also talking about, big names and all of that kind of stuff, a lot of people, complain that we don't have the characters that, you had. Looking back, say, the Ambrose days, you had, like Scaife and Ingle and Murph and things like that. And I was thinking about, how good would it be, to get some of those guys in there. And I was thinking, these days, when you look at it, you've got like, Jamie Whincup's kind of your Scaife, that intense, he's fully focused on the racing and things like that. You've got guys like Chaz Mostert, Dave Reynolds, who, are quite loose, do things like dye their hair and that. That's that kind of, I suppose, Greg Murphy kind of, where they're having fun, really enjoying themselves. And, you got Shane Van Gisbergen that's a bit kind of like your Russell Ingall who just wants to go out and race. And, he's a bit like, keep it on the track. If you do something to me on the track, I'll take you out on the track or whatever. But, let's have a beer afterwards kind of thing. I don't think that the personalities and that are that bad these days. I think maybe they've been stifled a little bit, but and we've also got some great young blokes coming through, like Anton De Pasquale and Andre Heimgartner, and that they've got great personalities. They're coming up. I don't think the future's as bad as what they're saying, with things like this, and I think we just have to embrace and probably not look back as much with rose-tinted glasses at how good it all used to be. It is actually still pretty good at the moment. I don't have too many notes to talk about with the actual racing. There's no kind of standout incident or anything this week like we had last week. The only probably big one was that Fabian had once again got himself to the front of the reverse grid race. I think they forgot to tell him that in iRacing he doesn't have to double stack. So they left him out, or he left himself out, or whatever, however it works with iRacing, and really shot himself in the foot. He probably could have won another reverse grid race, but once again the sacrificial lamb, went to the slaughter. The wins were shared evenly over the night, so we had Shane Van Gisbergen and Mostert winning the ones in Montreal, and then Anton De Pasquale and Jamie Whincup winning in Watkins Glen. Now, granted, Whincup's was a reverse grid race, but he did quite a good job. Alex Rossi came second. That's surprising to me because he's not used to these cars and he's not the best at iRacing, but it just shows, with Whincup and Rossi, the guys who are really good, it doesn't take them too long to get up to the front. Dave Reynolds was once again, he's improved a hell of a lot. And we're starting to see, kind of the guys who might have had a bit more experience on the sims, but, aren't as good drivers, are starting to shuffle to the back. You know who you are, Alex Davison. But interesting, Zane Goddard finished third in it was the reverse grid race, but still, that's not too bad. Then you have to wonder with some of these young blokes as well, whether they got it running better machinery, how they'd go. We also, Jake Kostecki was up there in 5th in that same race, granted reverse grid, but, you've still got to stay up there in those kind of races. As well, the racing, Montreal wasn't too bad. As far as the Grand Prix circuit, it went pretty good, but I much preferred seeing them at Watkins Glen. It was, more of their kind of, territory that we should be seeing these cars race in. Unfortunately, as great as I think it's Spa and Silverstone, the next one, as great as those tracks are, it is actually, it's not. I can't remember what the other track is. It's 2 European tracks at Spa and something else because we already had Silverstone. But as spectacular as Spa is, I don't think the racing is going to be best there. It's just the track's too big. It's a big Formula 1 track, and that's it. So that's my short and sharp review of this round of the BP Supercars All-Stars eSeries. Cam Waters was the overall winner, $1,000 going to Camp Quality there. That's a great initiative. I think that, some money going to charity. And the last note is Ambrose had yellow wheels. So Shane Van Gisbergen's got white ones. They look great. Ambrose had yellow wheels. Looks great. Why can't any of the others do the same? The only thing I can think is it's some contract thing, but then why is Shane allowed to do it and the others aren't? So anyway, I want to see more coloured wheels because it looks really good and they can do it on iRacing, so let's get on it. Until next time, I'll see you later.
I sleep with my hands across my chest.